Professor H.V. Deshmukh sir. Okay, am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So yeah, so I'm very much thankful for inviting me to deliver this guest lecture at this webinar. So let us start now. The first concern of mine is that nowadays you will find that the tillage practices are being mostly ignored, either by the farming community or by the research communities also. So that's why I choose this topic, and this topic is also of my interest. And I have worked here in this university for more than say 10 years in this field of this tillage management. So in today's this lecture, I am going to tell you regarding what is the tillage and its objectives, then various types of tillage, and then we will look towards the modern concepts of tillage. Then what are the resource conservation practices which can be conducted through tillage, and then the effect of, so this is the title, that is this effect of space and time. That means spatial and temporal variations in soil physical properties due to tillage. So in this way, we will go through in this presentation. Then, so first of all, I want to tell you that this presentation is mainly prepared for the students and the young academic members of Maharashtra. And that's why I will be more focusing on the basic things of this tillage management, because the advanced techniques and technologies, though they are there, but it may take much more time, and it may require another say webinar to organize that. So that's why I will skip those advanced techniques, and now I will move to our main topic, so tillage. So basic concepts, what is tillage and why to do it first. Let us understand what is happening at global level first. So you know that tillage is a central element in agriculture soil management. Why it is called central element? Because without which you cannot move further. Before sowing, you have to think of the tillage practices and tilling of the soil. So that's why someone have said that tillage is the say the farmers itself are the father of the tillage. So I will not quote any scientist name, but the farmers saw, and that too in the old age, mostly the tillage was invented by the female workers and female part of this population. So that's why the innovation and invention of tillage and the credit for that goes to the ladies or the females of the society. So in ancient days, you know how the tillage practices were conducted. So just you have to dig a part of soil by using some available tool, and then put the seed there, cover it, and wait for its germination and emergence. So likewise, when with the advancement of this knowledge and with the advancement of technologies, day by day, the tillage practices have been changed drastically. And now in this age, that is in 21st century, we are looking forward to the sustainable tillage management practices, and that's why various kind of tillage practices have been evolved. So what is the status of this tillage as far as world is concerned? So globally, you know that there is 15 million kilometer square area is under the croplands. So which is, this area is exactly approximately 13% of the ice-free land which is available on the earth. So out of this 15 million kilometer square, about 8.67 million kilometer square of this cropland is still till today is tilled intensively at least once a year. And other area, that is about 2.65 million kilometers, are being tilled by the less intense tillage practices. So with this background, we will see what is there at the global level. Okay, so here you will find that out of total 100% global area or the world area under cropland, you will find various tillage practices are there. So every country or every nation is having its unique tillage practices, and that's why we have to divide this whole cropland area among the various tillage practices. So out of which the conventional and traditional tillage. So these two are the most important components of tillage, and these are the mostly the traditional and some innovational. So as far as conventional is there, so it is being conducted by using heavy implements, and traditional methods are there. So these are used by the indigenous practices. So these two tillage practices contribute to about more than 75% of the global cropland areas. So remaining areas are again distributed into some conservation agriculture practices. But just during 1996 onwards, these conservation agriculture practices are emerged as a new area for tillage, and that's why the scientists, they are now um, uh, are having more interest in conserving the resources, and that's why which tillage practices are to be used while conserving these agriculture resources. So mostly that's why these practices are till today not much popular, and these practices have some limitations, and that's why the global area is very limited. Then again, the reduced tillage area is very less. So we will now see how pictorially the distribution of these croplands are there. So here you can see these are the conservation agricultural area over the world surface, and out of the total cropland. So here you can see some gray areas. So gray areas are the total cropland area over the earth surface, and this colored, that means the intense red and dark blue color is mostly the tillage area. So it is about 9.74%. Then this is the area of conservation agriculture, but this is not the total conservation agriculture area. So this is the probabilistic area of conservation agriculture. So you will find here India is not included in the conservation agriculture practices because India has some certain limitations. Which are those limitations? So India, so depending on the soil depth, then the crop type, then the irrigation and field size and income level. So all those factors contribute together, and that's why India cannot be completely adopt these conservation agriculture practices in its principally, but partially we can do so. So this is about the conservation area. Then this is the conventional. So conventional means you by using the heavy implements, still heavy tillage implements. So this is the total area, that is about 41% of the total area is under conventional annual tillage, and the traditional annual tillage area. Here you will find India is there. India and most of the African countries and some Eastern Asian countries are there. So why India is so considered in traditional annual tillage area? Because here the farmers mostly are using the small tractors, small tillage implements, and mostly also the bullock drawn implements are also in use, and that's why these all are the traditional practices of tillage, and that's why India is dominating in these kind of tillage practices. So why to do tillage? Because we know that the soil is not very even all over the world, and that's why depending on the soil type and depending on the various orders of the soil, you have to change the tillage practices, because your intention is that to lose the soil surface and then to grow the crop there and assure that adequate moisture is there, nutrient availability should be there, and maximum productivity also should be there. So depending on all these factors, so and also depending on the various soil orders, you have to select a proper tillage management practice. So one single tillage management practice cannot be accepted all over the world because the limitations of soil are different. So that's why depending on your native soil type and agroclimatic conditions, you have to choose the proper tillage practices. And that's why you will find a number of tillage research are there, and number of scientists are engaged continuously in making these tillage practices more efficient. Why? Because all the research which are done by this over this tillage are very site specific and location specific. and also the time specific. And that's why you cannot apply a single rule of tillage or single practice of tillage all over the world. Not only world, but you cannot use it all over India also. And that's why Indian states are divided into various land mass and land types. So you will see here, the India is dominated mostly by this pink color, and it is the insectisols type of soil. So insectisols are these soils are not fully developed. So these are in the process of development, and that's why maximum area in India is the soil in India is considered as the order of the soil is insectisol, because this area is developing. So it is not mature. It is neither say very old kind of soil. So this kind of soil is being generated day by day. So it takes centuries and thousands of years to develop the soil type, specific soil type for proper fertility. And that's why insectisol, this is the challenging area in India, and we have to consider which tillage practices should be used in insectisols. So after this insectisol soil, you will find about 24% area is dominated by antisols also. So this antisols are the mostly you will find this kind of soils in southern India. You when you enter the Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka, you will find there, and below up to Tamil Nadu also, you will find this kind of antisol soil, which are mostly reddish in color. And then comes the next part, that is the vertisols. So vertisol soils are mostly very fertile. So, and their very unique capacity to hold moisture makes it more fertile, because you can see that when the soil is holding more moisture, more number of nutrients or the mineralization process will be enhanced in such kind of soil. And that's why even without addition of much more nutrients, you can grow the crops there in such kind of soil, and you can also grow the crops under rain-fed condition also in this kind of soil. But the limitation of this soil, that is specifically vertisol, is that it have the swelling and shrinking property. So it swells when moisture is adequate, and it becomes shrink when moisture is removed from such soils. So that's why this becomes very fragile in nature as far as use of tillage implements in such kind of soil is concerned. So you have very limited option actually for tillage in such kind of soils. So in this way, you have to choose the proper tillage, and that's why various numbers of tillage practices and various tillage theories have been developed nowadays to manage this kind of problems. So what is tillage? First, let us try to understand. So it is, everybody knows that it is a mechanical or physical modification of the soil structure to bring the soil tilth in a good condition. And then why it is done? It is done for better seed germination and plant growth. So this is the basic definition of tillage. That is it is the practice of modifying the state of soil in order to provide conditions favorable to the growth. Now, why to do tillage? So the first and foremost objective of tillage is to remove the hard pan. As earlier I told you, in case of vertisol, you will find that the soil is having swell and shrink property, and that's why formation of hard pan becomes a very frequent nature of the soil. And that's why you have to use the heavy tillage implements to break the hard pan of the soil. So this is the first objective. Then the moisture conservation, because in rain-fed areas, availability of moisture is very limited, and you have to deal with the available moisture, and you have to take care that how I can conserve maximum amount of this rainfall in my field. And so that's why moisture conservation has become the most important objective through tillage. Then the soil aeration and gaseous exchange. You know that without the most of the respiration part in the plant body takes place through the plant roots, and if you don't have adequate aeration passage for the roots to respire, you will find your crop growth will be affected very severely. And then the gaseous exchange, that means the exchange of gases, that means oxygen and carbon dioxide, that too takes place from the soil surface and within the upper layer of the soil. And that's why tillage operations are to be made just to assure that soil aeration and gaseous exchange is adequate. Then next objective is to manipulate the plant residue and farm waste. Now, when we are saying the farmers to conserve the natural resources, so at the same time we have to conserve these resources in the field itself. That means in situ conservation. So in situ conservation requires mixing of various plant residues and the farm waste material into the soil so that your soil properties can be improved and your nutritional status will also be improved. So in order to manipulate these residues, you have to use the tillage practices. Then adequate seed and soil contact and emergence. So this is the very basic principle that unless you have the proper soil tilth, so fine and fragile soil will give you the better seed soil contact and it will assure the better emergence of the crop. So root elongation and proliferation is another objective, as all the above ground part of the plants are depending on the its nutrient and moisture uptake uh, through roots. So that's why you have to assure that your plant root must grow adequately and your root elongation, maximum the root elongation, maximum will be the your what about the number of leaves, the number of branches, and all the fruiting bodies will be maximum in that case. So you have to assure that your roots of the crop must elongate and they must proliferate it deep into the soil. So that is the best indicator, and that's why tillage practices helps to achieve these objectives. Then the pest and pathogen free environment, you will find number of pests are there which are soil borne pests and pathogens are there. So the pests they hibernate in the soil up to the greater depth. So you have to uh, invert the soil so that the pest and pathogen elements they can come upward, and due to the process of sun drying, so they will become either inactive or their death is assured. So then the mixing the manures and fertilizers. So whenever you apply fertilizers, so just to reduce the evaporation losses, you have to mix it in the soil at a proper depth. So these are the in depth the different objectives of the tillage. So what are the consequences? What will happen if you perform the tillage practices? So by performing the tillage practices, your soil water retention ability of the soil will increase, and also the rate of infiltration will also increase. So I will not explain this point to a greater depth because everybody knows it. But in case of, so here I am giving two figures at the first right side top side of this your presentation. You will find here the intensive tillage and the long-term no tillage. Both these theories are there. So one group of scientists they are believing in intensive tillage, another group of scientists they are believing no tillage, and that too for the long term. So how it is possible? Whether it is possible that in no tillage, whether soil and water retention and infiltration can takes place as compared to these intensive tillage practices? Surely, but I will deal with these theories later on during my presentation. So another effect of tillage is that improves the soil structure. Now, soil structure means whether your soil is having adequate amount of so adequate bulk density, adequate porosity, whether the because you cannot change the sand silt clay percent, so textural class cannot be changed, but soil structure can be changed, and that's why we are making our soil more granulated by using the tillage practices. So higher the granulation percent, greater will be the your rate of infiltration, moisture holding capacity, higher aeration will be there. So all these kind of things will improve. Then soil aeration and temperature. So just by increasing the mean weight diameter of the soil by using proper tillage practices, so you can assure that your soil aeration and adequate temperature level is also maintained within the soil. because unless temperature is maintained within the soil, your crop root may not be able to absorb the nutrients. Either they will under stress or they cannot be able to grow there with a heavy proliferation. So another effect of tillage is evaporation. So evaporation can be again, it may be beneficial or it may be detrimental. When it is beneficial, that when you have your soil surface is saturated, at that time the number of pores which are formed through the tillage practices, they will assist in increasing the evaporation rate, and thereby improving your soil condition, and they will be workable within a shortest span of time. So that's why. And another of the drawback of this tillage practice as far as evaporation is concerned, that your soil moisture at the top surface, you will lose it very efficiently and very easily, which you should actually conserve the moisture. So as against that, increase in the loss of moisture may take place at the upper layer of this tillage. Tilled soils. So again, the soil microorganisms, the soil, most of the soil microorganisms are aerobic, and that's why to assure more supply of CO2 and oxygen, so tillage practices are very much essential. Then root rhizosphere, this is the another effect of tillage, that your root rhizosphere, that means whatever the area within your rooting surface is there, that area will be having if it is very porous, if it is having ample microorganisms, then naturally there will be more mineralizations, and aeration will be proper, and thus your root rhizosphere atmosphere will be improved. Then the last point in this effect is that soil nutrient mineralization and uptake. As there is adequacy of moisture and adequacy of air, soil solution will be formed, and the nutrients will be dissolved in that soil solution, and it will again be easy for the plant roots to absorb it with proper tension and pressures. So these are the effects of tillage. Now we will take a look how these tillage practices are performed actually in field. So most of you may be aware about it, but I'm just telling you by giving the pictures that you will remember it for a longer period. So the most two types of conventional tillage practices are there. So conventional tillage again can be divided into primary and secondary tillage. So this is the primary tillage, which is the main objective is to break open and turn the soil up to the depth of say 25 centimeter. And in secondary tillage, whatever these clods are formed due to the inversion of soil, so secondary tillage operations are done for breaking these big clods and to bring the soil in a fine seedbed condition, which should be again utilized for sowing and planting purpose. So the depth of operation of this secondary tillage is up to 10 to 15 centimeters, depending on the implement you choose for this operation. Then primary tillage is to be done with plowing operation. So here you can see this is the plow, and it is actually inverting the soil, and you can see the depth of tillage, it is up to say 23 to 25 centimeter. Then another secondary operations are called as the shallow tillage operations. So most of the time farmers they avoid this primary tillage, that is deep plowing. Generally nowadays, due to the advancement of rotavators, the farmers they choose shallow tillage operations, and that's why some disadvantages are there of rotavator. I will discuss it later on in there. So these are the shallow tillage operations, and these are performed at the depth of up to 15 centimeters. So in some areas of the India, till nowadays, this shallow tillage is done by bullocks. So the indigenous implements are used to dig the soil for this shallow tillage operation. Then again, so earlier you have seen this is the tine harrow which is used for performing the secondary tillage, and now this is the blade harrow which can level the soil surface, and it will bring the soil in a good tilt condition, and it will assure maximum seed to soil contacts, because yes, all the clods are removed. And this is the most interesting part of this lecture, that this instrument, though it is not new, but now nowadays we have done many experiments on this use of subsoiler, and we found that this subsoiler is quite beneficial for conserving the nutrients. So in short, I will tell you how it works. So this is a simple implement which is having a single bar or the metallic plate, and here there is the small plow and the narrow. So the this width of this plow is just 1 inch, not more than that. And this is the drop power required to dig the soil and to run this implement is about 45 to 50 HP tractor is required. And then if you use with such a drop power, then it can be inserted up to the depth of 60 centimeter within the soil. So you can see it has been inserted up to 60 centimeter within the soil. That means about 2 feet deep. And here you will see that it is not inverting the soil. It is just cutting the soil. That means up to the depth of 60 centimeter, just a cut is being given. So how to perform this cutting operation, and this shallow trench is prepared here. So here lateral distance is to be kept up to 90 to 120 centimeter between the two cuts of the soil. And then by using this tractor, just the remaining soil surface should be kept uncultivated. So if you use this combination with either rotavator or other tillage practices, then you will find that your moisture conservation and mineralization process will be improved, and maximum plant growth and productivity can be achieved by using this simple and magical tool, which is subsoiler. So in Western countries, they called it as a chisel plow. Now they are now making it some more advancement in this implement by using some spring technology. So they have applied one spring here, so that this tine can be adjusted. The drop power can be adjusted by using the spring here, so that your drop power may be reduced and the efficiency of working this implement is also improved. So this is the zero tillage. Now how there are various practices of performing the tillage, and what we have experimented at our field is the zero tillage practices. So zero tillage is also has been becoming more populated in some part of country, but we are conducting experiments on vertisol type, whether at our area in vertisols, whether this practice is feasible or not. So how to perform this zero tillage? So in zero tillage, the most of the problem is that the weed management. You will see at the bottom side picture, bottom right side, you will find the crop is completely covered with weeds. So weed management in zero tillage is most important aspect. That's why you have to apply pre-emergence and post-emergence herbicides in the field to manage the weeds. So in zero tillage, extensively use of herbicide is to be made at your field. Then only you can perform these zero tillage practices, because weed management is a major issue, and that's why it is one of the objectives of tillage, that you can reduce the unwanted weeds from your field. So in this way, you have to maintain the soil until then. Before sowing, you have to apply the pre-sowing application of herbicide. Then you have to open a slot, a fine and very not much deep, just up to 5 centimeter slot. You have to open into the soil by using either zero till implements, or by manually also you can do this. So you have to remain the field which is there within these two rows untilled, and that's why it is called zero tillage. That means minimum disturbance of soil. Just you have to open just 1 inch of soil just to sow the seed within the soil and then cover it. Others field is kept untouched and uncultivated. So again, after germination and emergence, you have to put some post-emergence herbicides, and then you have to control your weeds. So this is the zero tillage. And nowadays, yeah, just I told you the due to the advancement of rotavator, this has become the very cheap and popular technology nowadays, use of rotavator. But you have to make sure that in rotavator practices also, weed menace is much more increasing, because you cannot here, you are not inverting the soil, you are just mixing the soil at the depth of say 5 to 8 centimeter, and that's why seed remain there, whatever the weed seeds are there, and they are again mixed into the soil, and then they are germinated very easily just before your crop also. And that's why here herbicide application along with rotavator can be done, so not alone rotavator. Then again, you will another disadvantage of using this rotavator is that it makes the subsoil more compacted. You know that every tillage implements has a drawback, that it prepares or it forms a flow pan layer within at the depth of its operation. So that's why this tillage, I will not recommend this kind of rotavator, use of alone rotavator. So I will show you the recommendation. My recommendation is done on this. I will show you how the results are there. So in order to remove that plow pan which is created by using rotavator, you have to use at least one shallow tillage operation by using the tine harrows. So you can also use the blade harrows if your soil condition is quite good, and if your soil is very loose and porous, then by using blade harrow before rotavator is also one of the tillage practice. Then some farmers, they are adopting this kind of tillage practices. They are using this tine harrow twice. Instead of using plowing, then tine harrow, and then rotavator, they are plowing. They are just harrowing the soil with the tine harrow first, then the blade harrow second, and third the rotavator. And again, another practice is here, that twice crosswise tine harrow, then blade harrow, and then rotavator. This is again more intensive practice, and it is not so much popular. Again, this is another practice. You have to plow your field, then prepare. You just give the tine harrow, that is application of harrowing, and then before sowing you have to apply the rotavator, so that here the soil compaction can be reduced, because your soil has been plowed up to the depth of 25 centimeter, and that in that case here the shallow plow layer cannot be formed, and that's why we will recommend. So in my experiment I have recommended this kind of practices that will avoid the plow pan formation. Then this is another practice that you can, some farmers they use plows, then tine harrows, and this is the traditional tillage practices. Uh, Plowing followed by tine harrow followed by blade harrow. So this blade harrow operation is also called as the pre-sowing operation, because here this operation is mostly done at that time when the rainfall or some showers are there, and they have made these showers, these clods more loose and porous, and then at that time if you are using blade harrow, then your soil will be leveled, and a perfect tilth will be formed, and a level soil will be formed. So uh, now these whatever the practices I shown you, these were the Indian or traditional tillage practices. Now when you consider what is going on in the world, earlier I told you that some new concepts in tillage have been emerged. Why they have emerged? The basic theory behind this new concept is that during say in 1936, when the Dust Bowl was there in United States, what happened there? All the fertile soil of the farm was lifted up in the air, and it was deposited elsewhere. So what happened? You have lose the fertile soil there, and at the same time the prices of oils, that means the diesel or petrol, they were at their peak, and the farmers were not in position to purchase the oils for their tractors or running the implements. And that's why they thought, the scientists and farmers, they thought that there must be some alternative to these intensive tillage practices where the maximum use of oil and the implements are there. So they found some solutions, and that's why after they are practicing various tillage practices, various tillage implements and all those experimentation, they found these different tillage practices. These are also called as the modern tillage practices. Which are these? First is that the minimum tillage, then the zero tillage, and then the conservation tillage. So all these practices requires the extensive use of herbicide. Then the zone and strip tillage tools that provide targeted decompaction. That means you have to avoid the decompaction of the soil only at the seed bed or the where you are placing your seed at the strip only. So this is the targeted decompaction. Then due to the advent of the industries and the new technologies, new planters and transplanters were innovated, and they have the efficiency to do multiple operations at the same time. So that's why number of passes in the field, that means when you go for plowing, second time you go for harrowing, third time you go for again leveling the field, and fourth time you go for sowing the seed. So these four operations can, if these operations are clubbed together, then you will find that it will be very easy for the farmer also, and for your land also it will be more beneficial, because due to the each pass of tractor your soil is becoming compacted, and the compacted soil cannot conserve the moisture. So thus, due to advancement of this technological innovations, we can think now about these new practices, that is minimum tillage, zero tillage, conservation tillage. So here you can see here again the main factor which was responsible to use this kind of advanced tillage practices is that the invention of new molecules of herbicides. As the pre-planting herbicide, post-planting herbicides are now available, crop-specific herbicides are now available. So this makes the tillage more useless, because the major objective of tillage is to remove weed. Now, when weedicides are available, why to run tractor in the field? And that's why you can reduce the number of passes, you can reduce the number of operations. So in this way, the minimum zero and tillage conservations can be now are becoming popular, and you also can experiment on this kind of practices. Now we will deal one by one with these tillage practices. So the advantages I will not discuss it. So I will deal first, go to the minimum tillage. What do we mean by minimum tillage? So here in this case, the tillage can be reduced in two ways. Either by omitting the operations which do not give much benefits when compared to the cost, and by combining the agriculture operations like seeding and tillage together. So in this way, if the machinery is available, then only you can use these kind of practices, because if you omit the some operation here, so it will be difficult in say traditional tillage practices. So that's why you can use the advanced tillage implements, and thus you can combine all those operations, and then only you can use this minimum tillage practice. Actually, what is the difference between minimum and reduced tillage? In minimum tillage, you have your attention, or your main aim is that minimum disturbance of soil. So in case of say using of tine harrow or blade harrow or any other implement, so you are intensively breaking the top layer of the soil. But in conservation agriculture practices, the one important consideration is that minimum soil disturbances or no soil disturbances. So no soil disturbances is not possible. So that's why you can minimally disturb the soil, so that your resource, whatever the underground resources are there, those can be conserved. So in this way, minimum tillage practices can be, many students, they have some confusion between reduced tillage and minimum tillage. So in reduced tillage, your number of operations are reduced, and in minimum tillage, your main aim is that you have to reduce the disturbance level to the soil surface. So these disadvantages are there. So these are available everywhere. I will not go in much detail of that, because when we find that these our results are very soil specific and site specific. That's why you cannot use a general rule to compare these tillage practices. So in zero tillage, I told you earlier that minimum means only hardly 1 inch of the soil is disturbed, and in that disturbed place you have to place the seed there, and at the same time you have to cover your seed. So that's why these three operations are performed by using the zero tillage. In addition to this, the fertilizer addition, fertilizer supply is also made at the time of this seeding time. So in this way, zero tillage it is called as the extreme form of minimum tillage. In minimum tillage, you have the liberty to disturb the soil up to say 10 centimeter within a specific row. But here in this case, in minimum zero tillage, you can only open the soil up to 2.5 centimeter, place your seed and cover your seed, and you don't have to disturb the soil otherwise. So this crop is planted in this unprepared soil just by opening a narrow slot or trench or a band, only of sufficient width and depth. And here the weeds are controlled mostly by chemical herbicides. So zero tillage, where it is possible, where the soil is coarse texture or the good internal drainage is there, or the residue mulch is adequate. When all these conditions are fulfilled, then only you can think about performing the zero tillage at your field. So the advantages are, so mostly the zero tillage is known for its advantages. So here I will discuss these advantages. So soils are homogeneous in structure because you are not disturbing the soil. So soil structure will remain as such with more number of earthworms. Now this concept is that if the number of earthworms, if you do not disturb the soil, the earthworms, what they will do, they will multiply within the soil and they will grow on the dead roots of the earlier crop, and then they will form the burrows within the soil, and these burrows will act as the channels for water absorption and its movement at the lower depth of the soil. And that's why earthworms are the importance of earthworms in agriculture cannot be you cannot neglect it. So this is the main aim, that why tillage is to be zero tillage is to be performed. Then organic matter content also increases because you are not disturbing your soil. Whatever the organic matter is there, that is being decomposed and it is being mineralized, and the topsoil layer is absorbing those mineralized materials. So the runoff is also reduced. So when there is a soil cover or the residue cover, naturally runoff will be reduced, and several operations are performed by using one single implement. That is, earlier I told you, you have to disturb the soil, just narrow slot, then sow the seed, apply the fertilizer, apply the herbicide, and cover the soil. So all those operations can be done by using the zero till drill. So only one implement is enough. Then weeds are controlled by herbicide. But the disadvantages now, the low seed germination. Why low seed germination is there? Because the seed to soil contact is not even in that condition. Then the low mineralization level. So when you are not applying fertilizers at a greater depth, or when you are applying the plant residues at the top layer, then so what will happen? First, the plant residue will first, they will try to decompose, and while decomposing, whatever the microorganisms are there, so those microorganisms will utilize all those most of the nutrients, and this to your crop, the level of nutrient mineralization or the availability of nutrients to your crop will be very much limited, and then at that condition your crop may starve for the nutrients. And then another issue is that builder of volunteer plants and pests. So this weed and pest management is the most important issue in this kind of zero tillage practices. So what do you mean by conservation? So there are the main three principles of conservation tillage. That is, first is you don't have to disturb or minimum disturbance of the soil. Then second is that you have to apply the soil cover. That means either by cover crop or by mulching. So the minimum extent to which the soil covers or cover crops are placed is up to 30%. That means 30% of your field area must be covered by continuous either cover crops or mulches throughout the year. And the third principle of conservation agriculture is that the crop rotation annually. So if you are applying these three principles, then it can be called as the conservation tillage practices. So many implements and again tools are available due to industrialization. So here you have to sow your seed in the standing crop of the earlier whatever the harvested area is there. So within this harvested rows of earlier crop, you have to sow your seed without disturbing the soil. So then only it is called as the complete conservation tillage practices. Now these were the various tillage practices and these were the advantages and disadvantages. Now with this background, now we will move towards our main topic, that what are the spatial and temporal effect of various tillage practices, because these practices affect the soil physical properties, and that's why to observe how by using various implements and up to various depth how the soil physical properties behave itself, and that will because soil physical properties will ultimately affecting your crop and its fertility status and its nutrient status and its root performance. So that's why the physical status of the soil must be improved and it must be kept at the adequate level so that you can have the maximum profitability of your crop or your farming business. And that's why I earlier told you, depending on the soil type and depending on the agroclimatic conditions, this spatio and temporal. Spatio is related to space. That means from one place to another place. That means from one kind of soil to another kind of soil. How these tillage practices behaves as far as soil physical properties are concerned. And what do you mean by temporal effect? Temporal effects, that means how long the effect of one tillage practice persist within the soil at different depths. Okay, so when I perform my tillage operation in the month of June or May, then how long that effect will be there within the field. So in this way, the temporal effects of the tillage practices are studied. So here my intention is to draw your attention that these experiments or these tillage practices are very site specific, and that's why while choosing the proper tillage implement and proper tilth of the soil, you have to take care that you are using the implement which is not deteriorating the soil physical properties, and that's why it is very important to observe what are the effects, spatial and temporal effect of various tillage practices. So I have conducted one experiment. So your host, Professor Anil Shinde, was my colleague at that time. So in presence of him, and he have contributed his maximum to conduct this experiment. So I must thank him for devoting his time and his sincere hard work towards this research work. So I am presenting this research work which is done by Professor Anil Shinde and myself. So what we done that we have you combined various tillage practices first, and then we want to study the effect of these tillage practices on various soil physical parameters. So which treatment we choose here? So here the treatment details are given. So before that, I will tell you that my soil type was insectisol to vertisol. So it is neither either completely vertisol, because it's the definition of vertisol is that your soil must be well developed or up to the depth of say at least 90 or more than 1 meter. So 90 centimeter to 1 meter. So at least that should be the depth of your soil. So in my experiment, what happened? Some part was the field part was say insectisol kind of soil, and some part was so deep vertisol. So that's why while dividing these treatments, we have taken care that the homogeneous group of soil must be there, so that whatever the results we obtain, that must be very true to its nature, and they must be very believable. So that's why we have conducted one experiment with different tillage practices. We have first given one treatment, only the treatment of blade harrow. That is, it is called as CNT. That means we have renamed it as the conservation tillage. Okay, then because here the minimum soil disturbance was there. So in conventional, CVT belongs to conventional tillage. Here we have followed one plow, then tine harrow, then followed by blade harrow. So this was my conventional tillage practice. Then the conventional tillage plus use of subsoiler. So earlier I told you the subsoiler is a very magical tillage implement, but it is nowadays it is not used mostly. That is a very sad point about it. And then we have applied the shallow tillage treatments like the tractor, that is tine and blade harrow, and the STB belongs to shallow tillage treatments by Bullock. So which includes the plow by Bullock and the bucker by Bullock. So when we compare these treatments as to monitor the moisture, so what we observe that these conventional treatment with use of subsoiler recorded consistently maximum amount of moisture. That means moisture conservation here was greatest. Can you tell me why this happened? Because here in this case by using subsoiler only, because here in conventional tillage also the moisture was better, but as compared to conventional tillage, even this use of subsoiler have performed most of the times even significantly than that of your conventional all tillage practices. So you can say that this is the only benefit that we have used the subsoiler. Maximum conservation of moisture we have observed. So why it happened? Because subsoiler have break the soil into two parts without inverting it. That means minimum disturbance of the lower depth of the soil. So what happened due to that making the slot in the soil? Whenever the rainfall was there, all the rainfall or maximum amount of rainfall entered at the deeper layer of the soil, even at the greater with the greater infiltration rate as compared to other treatments. So due to which you will find at all the times, whenever there is a rainfall or whenever there was a gap in rainfall, at all the times this treatment of subsoiler with your conventional tillage perform best. And that's why you can see here how various tillage practices can behave according to their ability to disturb the soil and ability to modify the soil structure. So depending on this their properties, they are changing the moisture holding capacity, not capacity, but the moisture content of the soil. So you will find here the compaction was made in the soil due to this shallow operation by blade harrow. So maximum time due to soil compaction at the upper depth or upper layer of the soil, because you know the blade harrow compresses the soil, and due to which the flow fan is being created at the depth of the blade of that just near the blade of that soil. Whenever that blade touches the soil at the depth of say 10 or 8 centimeter, at that depth you will find the soil compaction takes place, and due to the compacted subsoil layer, your moisture cannot be entered in that kind of soil, and that's why you will get the lower values of the soil moisture in such conditions. So as compared to these deep tillage practices, you will find the shallow tillage practices were inferior in conserving the moisture. Okay, now in another experiment, I have used rotavator to compare what is the status of soil moisture. Whether rotavator farmers now they are using extensively, and this kind of treatment is becoming more popular. But when I observe the use of rotavator as compared to soil moisture content, then I got the results like this. So in here, this was the zero tillage. So by for comparing this rotavator, I have choose the set of treatments like this. In one plot, zero till. That means no till was there. Only applying, only sowing and use of herbicide. So in HR, HR is again the zero till, but without, so here the herbicides and rotavator was used. That means one rotavator operation just to prepare the seed bed, and herbicide was used before sowing and after sowing. And in third treatment, only blade harrow and rotavator was used. In fourth treatment, tine, blade and rotavator. In next treatment, tine, harrow twice, then blade harrow, and then rotavator. In next treatment, you will see plow, tine and rotavator were there. And in last treatment, plow plus tine twice, then rotavator. So by using this combination of various treatments, what is the performance of soil moisture? Now you can see here again, when you, so now when farmers they are using a rotavator intensively along with herbicide, you will find here the soil moisture status is not that much satisfactory as compared to use of rotavator. Either in this case, you can see this treatment is also interesting. So here only tine harrow, then rotavator was used. So why the purpose of using tine harrow is that whatever the rotavator is causing the soil compaction, that compaction is being altered by this tine harrow, and that's why as compared to this single rotavator, here the moisture content was improved to a much satisfactory level in all the time. So this is the temporal difference, and this is the spatial difference. That means from one implement to another implement, and how the time, according to time, how the moisture is behaving. So here you will find again the superiority of the deep tillage practice. That means if you are using rotavator, you must have at least the tine harrow and plowing before it, so that you can get the maximum conservation of soil moisture, and you can assure the better availability of moisture to your soil. And another thing which I was interested in telling you, that the moisture conservation was extended up to the 80 days in terms of this PTR and PTTB. So here at the time of 60 days, in case of soybean, what happens? The seed formation takes place or the pod formation takes place. Then when there is a deficit of moisture like this, then you can reduce the crop yield because your seed setting is very poor. But when up to 80 days, when you are having adequate soil moisture, then at that time your seed setting, number of pods will be maximum, number of seeds will be maximum, the weight of the seeds in each plant will be maximum. So all this happens only due to adequacy of greater moisture in the field itself. Then at in Texas, USA, now here this the space is different. Now here the soil was silty clay loam. What happened here when we compare no tillage with conventional tillage? So conventional tillage is already up to depth of say 25 centimeter, and no tillage means without disturbing the soil, we have planted the crops. So now what is the difference of these two tillage practices? Here you will see the dot which is having completely filled black with black color. It is the conventional tillage, and the hollow square is the symbol for no tillage. Now you can see here, and these are the three depths. That means up to 50 millimeter, 5 centimeter. What happened? And then from 5 to 12.5 centimeter, what happened? And from 12.5 centimeter to 20 centimeter, what is the status of soil moisture? So depending on the use of tillage and depending on the soil depth, how the soil moisture behave. So this was the intention. Now you can see here what happened. So in different crops, you will find the effect of tillage was deferred. So in sorghum, under sorghum wheat sequence, the conventional tillage recorded significantly higher soil moisture at the depth of 5 centimeter. Okay. Uh, hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Audible, audible. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Okay. Now you will find at 5 centimeter and at 12.5 and up to 20 centimeter how these two tillage practices have affected the status of soil moisture. here in this case up to 5 to 12.5 centimeter. The no till practice conventional tillage practice recorded higher soil moisture, while the no tillage recorded minimum. But you will find at the surface level exactly opposite to this is happening. So in this way, the spatial effect of tillage, that means from one place to another place, if you change the depth, then also your behavior of the various physical properties are differing. And then again, when you change the crop also, then also there will be some behavioral changes in the soil moisture status of the soil. And when another thing is that when you change the time of the month of the year, then also you will find there is the differential values for all these moisture content in the soil uh, due to as affected by no till and conventional tillage. So in this way, my intention is to show you that how the cropping system affects the soil physical properties, how tillage affects the soil physical properties, and how the period of the time also affects the soil physical properties. Uh, and thus, so it is not very universal and rule that you can use only one principle that no, deep tillage is better, shallow tillage is better, or moderate tillage is better, intensive tillage is better. No, it is not rule. So depending on the soil, you can see here one single soil type is there. But if you change the cropping system and if you change the tillage practice, you will have the different results here. So again, as far as the soil compaction status is there, you will find here the status of bulk density, because soil compaction is measured mostly by two instruments, either by using the core sampler or by using the soil cone penetrometer. So these two indicators, that means bulk density and penetration resistance, give you the subsoil compaction status of your soil, because you don't know what is happening below the depth of 5 or 10 centimeter unless you dig the soil, unless you observe how the performance of root is there, what is the status of moisture is there. So all these parameters can be studied only if you perform these various assessment tools, use the assessment tool, and then perform is analysis. Now the bulk density, as in general it is said that the bulk density of soil, a very specific soil type, never changes. Yes, I agree that for vertical soils the bulk density is high, for again the insecti soils it is low, and again if you go to alphi soils then again it becomes lower. So in this way, depending on the soil type, this bulk density is very much specific. But it is not so that depending on the tillage practice also, if you are changing the structure of the soil, and when if you are changing the various physical parameters of the soil, then it is very obvious that the bulk density is going to change. Now, what is the importance of this bulk density? Why to measure it? Because we want our crop to grow better, and when it will be grow better, when you are allowing its crop roots to go deeper into the soil to extract more nutrient, more moisture, and thus have a ample anchoring mechanism. So in this way, all these three parameters can be performed better when you assess the density status of your soil. So you will find here again the set of treatment was very much same. And what happened? The bulk density status. Here you will find it was improved throughout the cropping period. That means right from sowing to harvest. You will find the cotton crop was grown here. In that case, you will find the bulk density status was quite less as compared to all of the other tillage, even the conventional tillage also. So just by using one simple implement, why now? What is the reason that when we are using the subsoiler, what might have been happened that at the greater depth of the soil, the due to the cut in the soil, at that time the more moisture was penetrated, entered into this greater depth, and you know that when we are breaking the soil, the density status becomes less at that point, and due to that jerk while breaking the soil, the parts which are adjoining to that subsoiler gate also becomes less, though they are not inverted, but at the same time, this some parts of the soil become disturbed, and that's why here the density status have been lessened, which might have useful use by the crop this property, so that they have proliferated greater root. In my next another images, I will show you how the root perform under these conditions. So my intention to tell you that if you are using a proper tillage implement, you will get the better compaction status, so that your crop can grow for its optimum productivity at that condition. Now in rotavator experiment, what happened? Again, you will find here the zero tillage was recorded as the worst treatment, and even that this herbicide followed by rotavator and blade harrow followed by rotavator. So alone use of rotavator, either with blade harrow or single rotavator, that is found to be very detrimental as far as soil compaction status is considered. So this sample was drawn from 0 to 15 centimeter up to the depth of 15 centimeter. So you will find here that rotavator, the depth of rotavator is up to the depth of 7 to 8 centimeter, beyond which it cannot enter into the soil. So at this 8 centimeter level, what happens? Due to the high rotational speed of those blades, a soil get bitted continuously, and due to that bitting action of the blades of rotavator, you will find the soil becomes compact at that layer. As against this, the upper layer is very loose and very porous, but the subsoil compaction causes greater bulk density at that part, and this flow pan lever, due to the action of rotavator within the soil, can change the infiltration rate and water infiltration rate, and also it makes your soil very heavy, not heavy, but more compacted. So that's why I have recommended this thing, that you, not a single farmer should use rotavator alone. Either you have to dig your soil before using rotavator, at least use one tine harrow, so that your soil compaction status can be modified to some extent by that tine harrow. Here you will find what is the result of tine harrow plus rotavator: improvement in the status of this bulk density, even at all the conditions. Because here 0.1 improvement by 0.1 is also very significant. Okay, because here you can see the critical difference is 0.064. So difference of 0.064 makes the changes among these treatments significant or non-significant. So here in this case, you will find when you are using drip tillage practices, the status of soil compaction has been alleviated. So here you will find what happens when the soil is more compacted. You will find the secondary roots cannot be grown in that soil, and here the secondary roots, tertiary roots, and all the root here, there will be more proliferation of roots, and in addition to that, soil and water nutrients will be highly accessed by such roots, and that's why you will get greater crop yield under such conditions. So that's why alleviation of soil compaction should be the major aim of your tillage practice. Specifically, I am talking about in vertisoil conditions. Now, another experiment, how this spatial distribution of water and the bulk density also changes according to the season. Here it is explained, because whatever the depending on the status of rainfall and depending on the capacity of the soil to hold the moisture, you will find here the water content in the soil and the bulk density status of the soil has been changed from, say, during spring season and during summer season. But here, what is the main importance, that whenever the soil moisture content increases, at the same time your bulk density will be decreased. So that is the main intention to show this slide, that both the two properties are inversely related. Now here also you will find that the soil bulk density, which is affected by tillage, and the soil depth. Here again, both the same treatments, that is no tillage and conventional tillage. Here you will find that the bulk density status of this no tillage at the upper layer was much more better in case of sorghum. And here also at the depth of say 50 to 125 centimeter, the status of bulk density of no tillage was greater. But at the lower depth here, the significance become much less at the depth of 15 to 20 centimeter. So in this way, the depth plays a greater role in case of the status of soil compaction. But this is case of sorghum. Now, when you change the crop, now see what happens. When you are changing crop from sorghum to wheat, now in Rabi season, what will happen there? So the differences in between these two practices have become much lesser. Again, at the upper layer and then again at lower level, the more status of this conventional tillage, soil moisture as compared to this sorghum case has been improved during the month of say June, July onwards when there was no rainfall. So this conserved moisture was lifted to the upper side at this depth 5 to 125 mm 5 centimeter to 12 and a half centimeter. So in this way, when what happens now, soil moisture is very dynamic. Now, when the lower soil surface is saturated, then there will be the upward movement of the soil moisture due to the uh, process of evaporation and changes in the temperature status of the soil. So when there are adequate number of micropores available, so the through micropores the movement of the soil moisture takes place, and that's why at the greater depth if the soil moisture is available, that will be utilized during the dry period or dry season, and thus it will be helpful for your crop. Then again here the soil status of soil bulk density, then hydraulic conductivity and water retention at two conditions at 20 centimeter depth was measured here. First case was the A. A means the at soil surface, and B is the interrow. So this is the uncultivated layer. Then this is the interrow state, and this is the within the row. So at three times they have observed at three places. What is the status of this is soil moisture. Now, as far as soil moisture status is there, so they have observed it at the time of flowering and 1 month before the harvest. So A is flowering and B is 1 month before the harvest of this maize. Now you will find here, as compared to the untilled layer, the status of soil moisture was much more higher in the within row zone and inter row zone. That means when you are digging, as far as specifically no till conditions are there, in no till conditions, what happens that you are opening the soil to a very narrow slot, and that's why and many times your tractor, the tires of the tractor, they apply pressure to the areas which are called as the inter row zones. So at row zone you will find there is the moisture status was improved, and at against this the until layer, here in the case of until layer, the soil moisture was reduced, which what this states that reduction in soil reduction in the moisture content, which is related to higher soil compaction. So in this way, so this is the first case which is related to the soil moisture. Then what happens to bulk density? Here you will find where no tillage at the until layer, maximum soil compaction was there. And as compared to again the third parameter which was studied, that the soil moisture retention. Here you will find the for maximum period the retention was there. Here a narrow slat of soil moisture retention was available. So in this way, the changes in the field is same, but if you change the tillage practice, this physical behavior of the soil also changes. So again, they've done the density at another experiment on sandy loam. What happens there in sandy loam also? So this experiment was conducted in Denmark, and what they observed that they have conducted three say treatments of first is the conventional plow and then the direct drilling with single disc and direct drilling with chisel cutter. So this, though it is direct drill with multiple operations at the same time, as against this, they have compared the conventional flowing. So you will find here the bulk density was quite less here. So this PL is marked by this line, and this DD is marked by this triangle, and this DDC is marked by the bulk. So here you will find that the values of bulk density were quite less under all these three treatments, where they observed that PL is significantly superior to the other directly drilled conditions as far as bulk density is concerned. Now, this is the very rare image and very rare experiment. So most of the time, scientists they conduct these experiments in laboratories also. So, but this is not the laboratory experiment. This was conducted in the field itself, and you will find this side view of this cross-sectional view of the soil, that how the structure of the soil is being differed by using these different three tillage treatments. So in plowing, what will you find? The soil is more disturbed. That means the structure of the soil is very differing from one place to another. As compared to this, in direct drill here, you will find the structure is quite homogeneous without minimum disturbance. That means disturbance was not there, and that's why the original soil structure was there as such. And however, in this case, in direct drill with cultures, so they found that a very specific portion of the soil is disturbed. Okay, and that's why the crop, the other portion was not affected, and very specific layer was affected due to this tillage implements, and thus the density status here, bulk density status here in this case was less as compared to this. However, the bulk density was lowest in flowing as compared to all those earlier treatments. So this is the case of bulk density. Now the seasonal changes, same scenario is there, that from season to season, the status of, that means from January to again the June, how the status of bulk density is differing by using. So in the dark, the circles are standard tillage practices. That means we call as the conventional tillage, and this hollow circle is no till. Here you will find. So this experiment was conducted in California, USA, and they found that again the standard tillage or our conventional tillage proved to be better in elevating the soil compaction. So again, the same experiment I will skip now because time is very less with us and we have to go fast now. So porosity. Now porosity is exactly the opposite value of the bulk density. That means which is inversely related to. That means when the bulk density is greater, then porosity will be reduced. And when porosity is higher, bulk density will be reduced. So in this way, invert relation is quite inverse. So here you will find again our treatment of subsoiler improved the status of soil porosity. So one thing I want to make here clear that the specific density of soil is about 2.65, and when you add the air to it, then you can calculate the bulk density. So bulk density is mass per unit volume. So this mass of soil also per unit, when you calculate the unit volume of soil, so in that unit volume there will be air spaces, there will be pore spaces. So within those pore spaces and soil volume, so depending on these values, you have to calculate the bulk density. So that means bulk density includes the pore spaces, and the specific density includes only the soil particles, the minerals, and not the pore spaces. So what should be the ideal status of porosity? 50 and above. So at least your soil must have 50% of the air spaces, and that soil is said to be very good for agriculture purpose. So anything which is having better than 50 is quite appreciable here. in this case of say deep tillage followed by subsoiler, we will find the maximum status of the soil porosity, which might have reflected in improving the root penetration for the crops. So in case of rotavator also, you will find here this deep tillage practice. Before performing rotavator, if you perform either plow or this tine harrow also, so you will get the higher rate of this soil porosity, and if the porosity is higher, you will have the more opportunity for soil moisture to enter into the soil, and again the more opportunity for plant roots to proliferate within into the soil. So here in this case also you will find the deep tillage treatments improve the status of soil porosity. Now this is again very interesting slide. Here you can see again this is the cross sectional area of the large farm, and here continuous, that means long term no tillage practice was performed, which is shown in the right side column, and here in left side column the conventional tillage practices are performed. Now you observe how much portion of the white color is there within these pictures. Now greater number of white color, greater is the porosity. Now as compared to the conventional tillage at the depth of 0 to 10 centimeter, you will find in long term no tillage the status of soil porosity is increased. Now when we are saying that the soil bulk density is greater in no tillage, yes it is right, but here this is, I am repeatedly telling, this is the long term no tillage. That means in order to improve the soil structure and in order to improve the status of soil porosity, it may take at least 10 years to improve the soil structure. So these are called the long-term tillage experiments. Then only you can compare what is the status of this conservation tillage and what is the status of this no tillage. So here at all the depths, so 0 to 10, 10 to 20 and 20 to 30 centimeter in conventional tillage, so you will find the no tillage have performed quite appreciable, and thus no tillage practice is beneficial after a specific span of time. You cannot expect that if I'm starting performing no tillage and in next year I must get the proper result. No, it is not possible. So you can see this is the clay soil, which is we can say that it is the very much related to our vertisols, and still improvement in such a porosity by using no till can be is very much appreciable, and that's why the scientists from Brazil, they have proved that your porosity status in zero tillage can be improved if you perform your practice for a longer period of time. So earlier I was telling you what happens with this cone penetrometer. So your professor Anil Shinde was with me. So with and he is holding this cone penetrometer. Actually, it was his photo. So I'm showing it to you. And this is the core index. Before sowing, starting sowing, before applying any tillage practice, what I observed that our soil, when we enter this cone penetrometer at various depths of the soil, we will observe that as within every increase in soil depth, the values of cone penetrometer, cone index increase significantly. So that means at surface level, your every soil, that means whether it is vertisol or any kind of soil, there is minimum resistance to soil penetration. And as you go up to greater depth, so the density of the soil increases, and that's why you have to apply greater force to penetrate any object into the soil. So here we are thinking about the root penetration, and that's why you can imagine how much pressure is to be applied by the plant roots to enter within the such densely arranged soil, and that's why you can imagine how the plant force is required, so how much energy is required. So that's why you will find that in compacted soil, plant will not die because moisture is available, but they will not grow, they will not become taller. Why? Because plant, all the energy of plant is being utilized by extending their roots to the hard compacted layers, and that's why the formation, the availability of nutrients to such roots is very limited, and that's why your crop cannot perform better in that case. Okay, so what is the result of this cone penetration? So again, here you will find greater the soil manipulation level, greater will be the your lesser will be the resistance to penetration. Here you will find the penetration resistance was quite less throughout the this temporal phases, and you will find this treatment has achieved a greater significance as compared to all other treatments. So this is the intention that how this tillage practices affects the penetration resistance. So because we cannot take a photograph and take a picture that what is going on within the soil, how the roots are behaving, and this cone penetrometer gives you the idea that how the roots are suffering within the soil, whether they have less resistance or whether the soil is offering greater resistance for their penetration within the soil. So here again you will find that this red portion is giving you the lesser values of penetration resistance, which is obvious from these treatments. That means whenever you are using the rotavator alone, you will find consistently greater status of cone penetrometer, and that's why your plant root cannot be grow when you use the rotavator, and you cannot get the adequate crop yield under these conditions. But when you disturb the soil at least to a depth of 12.5 or more than that, then you will find this much status that you have a greater porous soil at that depth. Again, these are some references which are showing that the cone penetrometer values have been decreased significantly as compared to so your direct drilled crops. Okay, so here also same thing is there. Now this is also one interesting slide to show you how the status of this cone penetrometer or the soil resistance differ. Now in this case, in flowing, higher the black color, higher will be the more is the status of soil looseness. So here in flowing you will find greater black color, so soil is becoming more loose, and that's why penetration resistance in this soil is much less as compared to this direct drill or drill by disc and drill by coulters. So in this way you can observe the status of penetration resistance by applying it to a various depth within the soil profile. Again, you will find these are the different four sets of treatments, that means A, B, C, D. So depending on the depth. So A is depth, the tillage operations were performed up to 35 centimeter, in B up to 50 centimeter, in C 20 centimeter again, and in D 10 centimeter. Here you will find that the values of D were inferior as compared to values of A or B. Okay, so this is the quite clear indication that see, this vertical section gives you quite a good indication that during the month of June and July, so this is during June and this is during the July, how the penetration resistance differed from during the process of your soil manipulation. So greater the depth of soil manipulation, better will be the status of cone penetrometer or resistance to cone penetrometer. Again, infiltration. Again, when you are improving the soil status of soil bulk density, improving bulk density means reducing bulk density. When you are reducing bulk density by using deep tillage operations, what will happen there? You will get the greater rate of infiltration, not only at the time of sowing, but at the time of harvest also. Because in case of vertisol, it is said that soil becomes compacted as the days goes on. Whenever you perform tillage operations, after a certain period of time, there is a natural tendency that the soil becomes shrink. Why it happens? That it is due to the particles within the soil, the structure of the soil particles, that they are swell and shrink. And it happens mostly due to the aluminum and silica particles, which are held together by very great binding forces. And that's why the tillage effect of tillage are said to be available for a very limited time. But in this case, what I observed that this experiment was conducted on cotton. So right from sowing to harvesting, what I observed that the status of this infiltration improved as compared to all the other treatments, shallow tillage or no minimum tillage. So here you will find the uh, seasonal effect of this rate of infiltration. So at the beginning of the season, infiltration rate was higher, and at the end of the season also, the infiltration rate was higher. So in this way, you can, depending on your availability and depending on your crop water requirement, so you can use the proper depth of tillage and choose the proper tillage implement so that it can enter up to that depth. So in case of rotavator also, you will find rotavator have performed worst in this case. So you can see, as compared to zero tillage also, here the rotavator have performed very worst. Here the rate of infiltration was least in this case when you use rotavator alone without having any instrument before or after that. And in this case, if you use the tine harrow, you can see a drastic change in the rate of infiltration. So one implement, a proper implement, can change all the status of this soil physical properties. And in this way, your crop can be benefited by using the proper implements. Then the mean weight diameter, particle density and hydraulic conductivity. Though particle density never changes, I agree, but the mean weight diameter status and the hydraulic conductivity status of the soil is being affected by various tillage implements. So what is the significance of mean weight diameter? So mean weight diameter means it is a combination of number of say clay miscellany. So when they come together, they form a aggregate. And when your soil is much aggregated, the number of pores in your soil will be increased. And as the number of pores in the soil is increasing, moisture retention capacity of your soil will be increased. So in this way, more the mean weight diameter of the soil, greater will be the moisture holding and retention capacity of your soil. So again here, if you are manipulating soil, again there are probability chances of improvement in mean weight diameter. So only tillage is not responsible. Actually, what it is said that tillage disturbs or reduces the mean weight diameter. But it is, though it is partially true, but why in this case the mean weight diameter is improved in deep tillage and more intense tillage operations? Because here the number of soil microorganisms which are forming these aggregates to come together. So number of microorganisms, when the aeration status increases, the microorganisms also increases, and the what you can say, the microorganisms include the actinomycetes and this fungi. So bacteria I am not including, but actinomycetes and fungi is responsible for forming the clods of the soil, and thus when they are available in adequate number, when they are available, because when you improve the aeration and moisture status, when aeration is improved, when moisture is improved, your fungi and actinomycetes will be increased, and thus your mean weight diameter can be increased. Thus it is not true that tillage practices alone are responsible for breaking the soil structure. No, they can also improve the soil structure by increasing the mean weight diameter through use of microorganisms. So the root studies were also performed. So I must thank to Mr. your Professor Anil Shinde that he have taken immense efforts to dig out these roots, because we were interested in observing actually what is going on within the soil, and that's why we have performed this a huge experimentation, that we want to observe without disturbing the soil, without disturbing the roots, how the root proliferation have been taken place. Now you can see here, I have changed the color of the image just to enhance this root portion. So you will find here more higher and intense root network here in this case of cotton. Here you will find this treatment of subsoil. You can see here the status of penetration of roots through all the 365, not 365, but at least lateral and downward side. And as compared to this conventional tillage, you can see only one blade arrow was used. So due to the status of soil compaction, you can see what is the status of this plant roots, and how you can expect that this plant can give you more productivity just by reducing the number of tillage operations. No, you have to use adequate tillage operations, because your intention is to give better atmosphere to the rhizosphere, and that can be performed only by the deep tillage practices. Here you can compare all these images, then you can take your own decision which tillage practices to be used. So here I have shown here the network of this soybean crop. So without disturbing again the roots, we also have taken these images that how the proliferation of roots takes place with adequate tillage practices. So here about say 112 centimeter soybean root, you can imagine 112 centimeter length of the soybean root was observed within the soil by using this subsoiler tillage. Again, the black gram was also experimented. So these are the images, and you can see here how extension in roots, root hairs, and all the rootlets takes place. And again, we have also measured this all the parameters of the roots. You can see here the root length, the girth, the lateral root spread, and the root diameter. All those parameters are responsible for better crop growth and more, so providing more nutrition to the crop. So these were quite improved in this case. So maximum root length, maximum girth, maximum lateral spread, and maximum diameter content of the roots were observed. So likewise, so this again, this is the case of cotton crop. You can see here how they have the root length and all those parameters have changed. Again here, this is in case of black gram crop. How you can see this treatment have improved all the parameters of the roots. And this is the pigeon pea also. You can see the pigeon pea is said to be very much responsive to the moisture stress, and that's why here depending on the greater moisture availability, the response of plant root was also quite high and sufficient. And again, because why we performing all this tillage and all those operations, because our ultimate is that we must get a good crop yield and achieve a maximum benefit out of it, monetary benefit. So in all the practices which various crops were grown in combination of different crops, so the cropping systems were influenced by these tillage practices. Okay, you can see maximum crop yield. So you can see the pooled mean of this 3-year experimentation. Here is also maximum, here is also maximum, see all the cases. So one tillage practice or one tillage implement can change the feature or future of the farmer and future of the farm. So again in crop, this soybean crop also same thing is there. Then this is the last property which I will deal with now. So how the temperature, soil temperature, then soil CO2 evaluation takes place due to various tillage practices. So the much more variation in temperature was not observed due to this no till and conventional tillage to this researcher. However, CO2 evaluation was significantly different. So you will find here sometimes the CO2 evaluation is greater in most of the times in conventional tillage. So what happens that in conventional tillage, we are loosening the soil, and that's why more higher exchange of gases is taking place due to the porous soil. And that's why there are chances that whatever the carbon particles are there, that means they either decompose, completely decompose. So the formation of carbon with oxygen, it takes place, and this CO2 either through plant roots or through the soil, they enter within these pores, and then ultimately they carry on to the atmosphere through the process of diffusion. And in this process, greater the level of soil disturbance, greater will be the loss of CO2 from the soil. So it is very obvious, there is no doubt in it. And what is the response of CO2 to temperature of the soil? So here you will find that as the temperature increases, there is the greater loss of CO2 from the soil. So one dotted line is assumed here, which is not, you cannot observe it, but it is here, which I am showing you. One dotted line is, so it is at 25 degrees Celsius at the water filled pore spaces. What is the status of soil evaluation? So it is maximum when you increase the soil temperature, and it becomes minimum when you decrease the soil temperature. And the optimum soil temperature is found to be 15 degrees Celsius for uh, for this minimum or moderate loss of soil CO2 evaluation. Again here, in case of conventional tillage, maximum soil evaluation, loss of soil CO2 have taken place in wheat crop also, in soybean crop also, in both the cases. So this is the case of soil in siltic loam condition. And here, when you are comparing the soil organic matter, so soil organic matter, this can be distributed into three parts. That is, the particles which are having greater diameter, moderate diameter, and small diameter. So all these cases, in case of no tillage, you will find there is a proper distribution of the soil particle in both the no till plot. But here, in case of this, the upper part, in every case, the upper part was the standard tillage, okay, and the lower part was no tillage. So you will find, as compared to standard tillage, in no tillage, the soil organic matter content for all the three sizes were improved, okay, during say year 2003, 2004, and again various months of this year and up to the end. So here the accumulation of soil organic matter took place under minimum soil disturbances as compared to higher soil disturbances. So in conclusion, what I will say that conventional tillage practice has its own advantages, and that modern tillage concepts and practices have been evolved after a major hike. So I told you that fuel prices were rise. So minimum tillage and all those things. So I will not give you the details of those things because I have already told it. So one thing I want to tell you here, that nowadays the no-till is being more advocated by the European and American countries. But should we believe it? That you have to think over it. So no-till advantages are not universal. Why? Because a recent global metadata analysis showed that generally yields are reduced in no-till compared to conventional tillage. Why? Because we have seen how the physical parameters get changed due to this practice. Then the conservation management package involves not simply a change in tillage implements and seeders, because this when you want to shift to no tillage, you must have the proper tillage implements, proper seeders, but it also increases the use of minerals and fertilizers. So before going to zero tillage, you have to think over it, whether you have to shift for that or not. Then for smallholder farmers, just like in India, where conventional and traditional tillage practices are found, so implementing conservation tillage can result in decreased yields and increased labor, because you will find more weeds will be there. So more weeds mean more labor. So thus the increased cost of herbicide and mineral fertilizers. So in this way, for smallholder farmers, you have to think twice whether should shift for that or not. So at the end, I would like to say that no need to more realistic about both the benefits and disadvantages of no tillage, that is based on sound science and facts, rather than promoting it as a false panacea for application universally to mitigate the climate change. So it cannot be the true for all the cases that just to mitigate climate change you have to go just to for no tillage. No, this is not the single option. And now when you want to improve the crop yield of your crop of your field from your field, then you have to think like a root, because just imagine you are a root, then what will be your requirement? So your requirement will be adequate nutrients, adequate porousness, and the good tilt of the soil. And not only that, you will also need biologically active soil for the many beneficial organisms, so that they will supply you the nutrients and growth promoting chemicals. Then you also want the soil to have any chemicals such as soluble aluminum or heavy metals that might harm you. So you would not want these heavy metals within your soil. if you want to grow better, then you are imagining yourself as a root, and then your balancing of pH must be better. And that's why while adding the nutrients, balance use of nutrients depending on the soil type and depending on the your observations or this analysis, you have to use those kind of nutrients. Then you have to also take that not only surface layer but the subsurface layer is also quite porous, so that you can your entry cannot be restricted at that level, and you can acquire great amount of moisture and nutrients from that layer also, which was earlier untapped. So in this way you have to think that whether my soil, how should I choose my implement, what implement should I select. So depending on all those parameters, you have to choose your implements for proper tillage management. Then just if you are interested in whether no till is good for mitigating climate change or not, so you have to go through this say article. It is written in Agriculture, Ecosystem and Environment 216. It is the edition of 2016 from page 98 to 99. Only 2 pages are there. But here the myth is that, say CO2, what is the contribution of CO2 from the cropland, when they are saying that no, agriculture is imparting much more damage to this environment through global this greenhouse warming gases. So it is not true that only agriculture is contributing. When you compare the methane from the Arctic, so explosion, so this Arctic methane is more responsible rather than the ground or the crop field methane, which is extracted mostly from the enteric system of the animals of agricultural crop. Then again, they have said that the rice crop, again due to evaluation of greater CO2, it is also harming the say global, it is affecting the global warming adversely. But I want to tell you that same thing is written here, that as compared to CO2, the nitrous oxide is more dangerous, and it is the number of you can see when CO2 is contributing to only 30%, then the nitrous oxide is contributing to 200%. Methane is again contributing to 125%. So you are ignoring this methane and this nitrous oxide, and you are only blaming the CO2 of the soil. So it is not that much true, and that's why this panic here has been created. So if you want to get your doubts very much clear, you go through this literature. So that is all for this day, and I thank you very much for listening it quietly. And I know that at least I must be helpful in improving some kind of the knowledge towards these tillage practices and how this physical and chemical change.
Thank
Yes,
you,
over
Dr.
to the organizer. Yes, sorry that I have
Thank you
taken much
for,
time. Then, yeah.
no, sir. Very nice, wide and experienced, knowledgeable presentation on facial and temporary effects on tillage practices. Thank you very much, sir. Now I request Engineer Nilesh Brigade to handle question answer session.
Hello, may I audible, sir?
Yeah,
Sir?
yes, sir.
Yeah. First of all, thank you very much for your marathon speech, marathon webinar. Thank you very much, sir. There are some few questions from the students. The first question is from Nikita Gowli. Which tillage practice can be used in black cotton soil?
Yeah, that's why I'm telling you, for the most of the times my experimentation was on the black cotton soil, which is also called as, in scientific term, the vertisols. Okay, so vertisols and black cotton are the synonymous terms, and that's why I told you that in a vertisols or black cotton soil, then you have a very smaller window of operation, because after the, so you have maximum period of dry season during up to the May, and then at that time you can invert or you can disturb your soil. But at that time, when you are going to invert your soil, maximum draft is required to invert that time. So your cost of this operation will be increased, and that's why what I'm telling you, that the proper and best tillage operation is that only use the tine harrow, and that too at the proper time. That means, what is the proper time? That once you harvest your last crop, and when your moisture percentage in the soil is 9%, about 9. So generally 9 to 12 is the range at which you have to plow your field, because at that time a draft power requirement is very less. So immediately after harvesting the previous crop, you go for a small tine harrow, then leave it for such during the whole summer season, and then after the onset of monsoon, you just use at least a minimum blade harrow just to break those flow pans. Or you can also use the rotavator nowadays, when it is becoming more popular, and it is the cheapest way to plow your soil and make your soil tilth available at a within shortest span of time. So that's why I will advocate either use the tine harrow at the time of just harvesting the previous crop, and then use either blade harrow before sowing, or either rotavator before sowing. Yeah.
Okay, sir. The next question is, what percent of organic carbon is required in the soil?
So it is not required. You cannot say. It is the inbuilt capacity of the soil to provide the organic carbon, because the formation of organic carbon, it is a long process. That means hundreds and thousands years are required. So at the most, we can say the percentage of say organic carbon at the most is 5% is too much for the any good soil.
Yeah, okay, sir. And another question is, rotavator operation comes under primary or secondary tillage operation? Is it primary or secondary tillage operation? Operation of rotavator.
Yeah. So many times. So now you imagine, I am having two season. Okay, for my Kharif season, rotavator will be the secondary operation, because in Kharif season you have to plow the hard soil surface, because it is dried already. So only rotavator cannot be operated under the dried condition. So unless you plow your soil with at least tine harrow or any other implement like that, then in Kharif season, rotavator become the secondary tillage operation. However, if you are growing second season, that means Rabi crop, then your this rotavator become the primary tillage operation, because you want to reserve your soil moisture status. And at that time, rotavator is the best implement which can preserve the soil moisture at the greater depth, and it will lose the soil moisture of the upper layer, so that you can sow your seed and a good seed bed can be formed. So in this way, rotavator can be either primary or it can be either secondary operation. It is primary in Rabi season and secondary in Kharif season.
So it depends on the soil type also, no? And also the season. Okay, the last question is, sir.
Look. What I want to tell you, that what I'm giving you, all the answers are in context of deep cotton soil. Okay, deep black cotton soil.
Sir.
So because these are the more problematic soil. Other soil types have no problem at all, because they can be either tilled. Even the farmer, there is no need to use rotavator also. Okay, so in that kind of soil, so that's why more problematic soil is this black cotton or vertisol, and that's why we have to find solution how we can tackle the tillage operations in that condition. Okay.
Yeah, so you have explained nicely that zero tillage is not useful for means for most of the crops. Still, there is one question is that for which crops zero tillage may be beneficial in initial stages, we can say.
Yeah, in initial stages, where you have the widely grown crops. Widely grown means cotton. Okay. So for cotton crop, you have ample space in between two rows, and those two rows can be covered either by using the cover crop or by using the plant residues, so that mulching will be there, so continuous crop cover will be there, and the minimum requirement or the minimum pass of your zero till drill is required under cotton condition, under when you grow cotton, because minimum soil disturbance will take place as there is adequate spacing in between two rows of cotton. So you will save your fuel, you will save your draft power, and you will save your number of passes in the field. And then what happens that crop root, you have to take care of crop roots, that the plant roots of cotton are quite sturdy, and during initial stage they can sustain the hard compacted soil, and ultimately your soil is going to be loosened when you continue this practice for a longer period. Okay, so that's why I will advocate the widely spaced crops for your conversion from this conventional tillage to zero tillage during the early period. And during later on, when you think that your soil is becoming, the structure of the soil is quite good, loose and porous, and you are adding quite a good amount of mulches and organic matter, then you can convert to any crop, any, no matter which. And but the more the serious problem is that for first 3 to 5 years, you will not expect the potential productivity from those crops because of these limitations, hard pan and all those things. So you have to waiting period for 5 years to convert your soil from traditional tillage to no till, and for good structure you have to wait for 5 years. Till those per 5 years you have to bear the losses in terms of productivity.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your answers, satisfactory answers. And now we are at the closure of this session. A warm and graceful evening to all. Our most valued, honorable chief guest, Dr. M.R. Deshmukh, sir. It is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks and acknowledge the contribution of those who really worked hard to make this webinar as a wonderful session. On the behalf of Kekewa College of Agricultural Engineering and Technology, I extend a really hearty vote of thanks